you're telling a story, I think you should tell it to its fullest, with reckless abandon, and absolutely let it be what it is. Kate Winslet. Everyone has a story, but not everyone knows the power of their story. Maybe you've been told to keep your past to yourself. Maybe you've been conditioned to smile on the outside while bleeding silently within. But I want to ask you today, what's your story? Not the version you tell at job interviews, not the polished highlight reel you post online. I'm talking about the real story. The one buried beneath layers of shame, beneath layers of resilience, failure, and triumph. Because here's the truth, your story matters. Every broken moment, every scar, every tear, it all counts. And if you've survived it, then it deserves to be seen, heard, and honored. You are not just the pain you've endured. You are the strength that rose from it. You are the courage that kept going. And somewhere within that mess, there is a message someone else desperately needs. When I think back to my darkest days, I remember moments when silence seemed safer than speaking. I feared judgment more than truth, but staying quiet only deepened the shame. The feeling began the moment I told my story. Maybe you're in a chapter right now that you never thought you'd go through. Maybe the pages feel heavy, too dark to read out loud. But I promise you, this chapter is not the end. It's the rising action. Some of the most powerful stories begin in the most painful places. The bankruptcy, the betrayal, the breakdown. They become the soil where new beginnings are born. You might be tempted to bury parts of your story, to pretend it didn't happen, but the truth is healing requires remembering, not to relive the trauma, but to reclaim your voice. Think about it. Some of the most inspiring people you admire didn't start at the top. They climbed from the bottom, dragging their stories with them, and used every experience as fuel. I know what it's like to live in survival mode, to be smiling in public while privately unraveling. But in those moments, your story is being written, and you decide how it ends. Maybe life handed you a narrative that you didn't ask for. Abuse, addiction, injustice, rejection. But even if you didn't choose the beginning, you get to choose the direction now. What would happen if you embraced your whole story? Not just the beautiful parts, but the broken ones too. What if you stop hiding the truth and start healing through it? Someone needs to hear what you've been through. Someone is waiting on the other side of your honesty to find hope. Your scars are someone else's survival guide. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to be willing to share the steps you've taken, the failures you face, and the lessons you've learned. It takes courage to own your story. But courage is contagious. When you rise, others rise with you. When you speak, others find their voice too. So don't silence your journey because of shame. Don't dim your light to make others uncomfortable. Your story is sacred and it's meant to shine. There was a time in my life where I faced public scrutiny, personal loss, and painful isolation all at once. I thought my story was over, but God was just flipping the truth. In the middle of my mess, I found meaning. In the ashes, I found anointing, and it wasn't instant, it wasn't pretty, but it was power. And you have the same power. The power to rise again, to start a new chapter, and to use your past as a platform. Maybe your story isn't meant to be hidden. It's meant to heal. It's meant to awaken purpose. It's meant to light the way for someone who thinks they're too far gone. But before your story can set others free, it has to first set you free. Free from the shame, free from the fear, free from the idea that you have to be perfect to be powerful. Sometimes freedom begins with a single sentence. I went through it. I made it out. I'm still standing. And from that sentence, a testimony begins. You don't need to explain everything. You don't need to justify every choice. Just speak with authenticity. Speak with integrity. Speak your truth. And when you do, you'll realize that your story is not a liability. It's an asset. It doesn't disqualify you. It positions you for deeper impact. The people who have the most to give are often the ones who've lost the most. Their story becomes a beacon guiding others through the darkness. Don't let perfection rob you of purpose. Don't wait until you have all the answers. Speak from the mess. Lead from the middle. Grow in the process. You are allowed to evolve. You're absolutely allowed to outgrow the version of you that once settled, once hid, once broke down. That version of you was necessary, but now it's time to rise. And rising doesn't always mean applause. Sometimes it means quiet resolve, a decision to keep going, to keep building, to keep showing up, irrespective of who doesn't support your journey. Your story might not make headlines, but it can change hearts. It might not go viral, but it can go deep. And depth is where transformation happens. So today I ask you, what's your story? What truth are you holding back? What pain have you survived that could become someone else's permission to heal? Your story is your superpower. Don't underestimate the value of your choice. It's not just a story. It's a solution. The moments that try to break you are now the bricks you're building with. That's the alchemy of grace. Even in your silence, your story speaks. But when you speak it, you become authority. You become the narrator again, not the victim. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be honest. Vulnerability is strength, not weakness. Let your story remind someone else that they're not alone. That there's life after loss. That purpose can come from pain. When you honor your journey, you activate your destiny. You make peace with your past so your future can flourish. People connect your story more than success. Be the one who goes first, who says what others are afraid to say, who feels what others have suppressed. You'll be surprised who comes alive when you stop pretending. You'll be surprised what doors open when you walk in the truth. So tell your story, even if your voice shakes, even if your hands tremble, because every time you speak, shame loses its grip. This is your moment, not to perform, but to be real, to be seen, to be known. So again, I ask, what's your story? And more importantly, are you ready to own it? You got this. Peace and blessings, Dr. O.